Hello, and here we are again. This time it's gonna be the first of many parts of this gigantic house. It's a house that would be able to have 32 people in it. So, the idea behind this house is because for at least the last couple of the last 6 years, me and my family went on weekends away with my whole family, like my grandma, aunt, uncle, nieces, nephews, and we used to always to rent out a very big house for that weekend. And last year we had some trouble finding the right size of house for the weekend. So after that, I decided that I was gonna look for or build a couple of ideas of big houses. And of course, back then I didn't record anything because I've built about 4 or 5 big houses. Yeah, and yeah, now I'm recording one. Most of the houses that we rented out were one-story houses, and we had a couple of 2 stories. It always was a bit tricky to find a house that was able to have as many people in it as we needed for a decent price. And every time we succeeded, we have had some very poor beds and some sleepless nights during those weekends, but most of all, it always was very, very fun. Very was a lot of fun. Being there with my whole family and just having to rely on each other for everything, for getting your dinner, to I don't know, there were always a lot of things that needed to be done, from eating to doing the dishes. We always made sure that we had some activities to do during those weekends. And yeah, so this is a house that would be able to have that many people in it. Of course, we never had a house like this, but the idea behind it is because of it. Yeah, I really liked building this house. It, of course, was very hard to fit it all in, all the tables, all the chairs, all the beds. Usually you get a double bed, usually. So I did kind of try to go with that in the other builds I did. I have a kind of a weird family that because you can always there are always those big houses that you can rent out with a group, but they have like 3 big rooms with a lot of double beds in it. I don't know why it stopped. Is it gonna move on anytime soon? Yeah, and there it goes. So you can rent those houses with a lot of rooms, a lot of beds in 3 rooms. But my family is very picky. They want their own room and with their own thing and not share a room for the whole weekend. So that was a very tricky part, finding houses that had enough beds, enough rooms. So last time we went was 3 years ago, so last year, and last year I had the joy of finding a house. Yeah, that was very not joyful and very hard, because finding a house with enough beds and enough rooms, and then also still be in a good in a good price range, was very tough. So yeah, I had a lot of trouble finding a house last time, because all the houses that I liked were above price range, and as soon as we had enough rooms for everybody to fit in, it was too expensive, and just a lot of things that were hard to deal with but had to be dealt with. So in the end, last year I ended up finding a house. It used to be a barn, and they converted the house for big groups. So, and if anybody wanted to rent a house with a big group, they were able to rent that. And it had enough rooms, enough beds. Of course, everybody else, there were always somebody complaining. That's just how it works. You're trying to make sure that everybody has what they need. And there's always somebody that says, well, I need this and it's not here. And yeah, so that was always a struggle. You see me here trying to figure out a kind of a floor plan. We have a kitchen already, the start of the kitchen. We're gonna go and make this a living room. I'm just making sure that the rooms are big enough for what I need in them, because that's always very important, that you have enough space in the room. Because if you have a big group, like our whole group together, we are at this moment, well, not at this moment anymore, because my grandma passed away. Let's see, I have it on the paper somewhere nearby. We would be 27, and trying to fit that all in one house, yeah, that can be tricky. But this house would be okay. I even drew it out, and it looks like we even have one room empty. So that's always, but the problem is here, because usually you just have one big table, or two rows of big tables that could just fit enough chairs. But in The Sims, you can only fit so many chairs on one table, and so that's why I ended up getting, I believe I have 32 beds in this house. So this house is not really for me to play in. That's not really the idea behind it. But it should be playable. I don't know why you would want this many rooms, but it should be playable. Yeah, that's something that I am very positive about. So in the end, this house is gonna end up having 2 living rooms. What could be living rooms? That's always useful. If you have such a big group, you might want 2 different living rooms, so you don't have to be in each other's space every moment of the day. And because of course I built those other houses before, I know kind of how big a room has to be for it to, for starters, work properly, because that's always useful if you have a room that works properly. So I think in the end I'm gonna build a 4x5 room. You can see two there, or now three on the right of the house, of the back. And once I start on the dining room, you can clearly see that the room that I have now for dining room is way too small. And what you always have to remember, you have to have so many toilets and showers with the number of people in the house. So we have just a toilet, just one toilet, and I think 4 bathrooms with showers, and even in the downstairs there's even a tub. Because there was this one house we once went to that was more built towards people that were not, what would you say, that were disabled. So they had this downstairs, they had this one bathroom that was very big, that had a bath in it, and it was a very nice bath, as it was able to go up and down, and there were LED lights in the room that changed color. Yeah, we have had some very weird experiences. But yeah, now that my grandma passed away, she passed away in May, I don't think that we're gonna do this again. No, it's sad, but that last year was probably the last one. So if I find another, because I opened a new world for this. I have this one sim, he's somewhere on the slot. I'm not sure where. I would say somewhere in the corner. I used him for the other houses also. Let's say he owns the house. I don't know where he is. Oh, and right here I already found out that I was lacking room upstairs for enough beds. So now we're gonna continue on the dining room. And who knows why I went with the yellow theme, because I don't really like yellow that much, but we went with the yellow theme for this house. So yeah, well, if I end up getting more inspiration for another house, I might end up building one. Because while I was looking last year for a house to rent for this family vacation, I also I also got an idea of what you need in a house, and that was very useful, getting that idea, because I found out, well, if you have a pool, because we have some younger kids in the family, if you have a pool in the house, it means that you also need a fence around the pool. And the other houses that I built like this, I discovered some of those things along the way, as the room sizes and what you need in the room, and also the fence around the pool. because you don't want the little kids to fall in. And then I have a nephew, and he is very good at somehow ending up in a pool or in some kind of stream. Yeah. So that's why fence around the pool would be nice. But now nobody can see anything what I'm doing on the screen. But I think I'm rearranging it and counting the number of chairs in the room. Well, now you can see a bit of more of the layout of the house. And it seemed like there was another gap there in the build downstairs. So upstairs we're now making the room where it should be like a games room. And we're putting some like terrace upstairs, a balcony. The first couple of houses we rented for that family weekend away, we always had to find activities to do where we were, because that's what you want. You want to do something with your family. So the first couple of things we tried, as by now I think I've told about Max a couple of times. So we rented like this carriage, and then a horse would pull you towards somewhere, or like they took you on a ride. So we did that for a couple of times, and then I believe 2 or 3 years ago maybe, we had one of my nephews said that he didn't want to do it again, so that was the last time we rented a horse and carriage. And we had to find other things to do. You have to find your activities to do, because just sitting in a house with each other is not very fun. I'm trying to find out how we're gonna do the roof, which is looking like it's a very hard part for me. I always struggle with the roof, always. If I can, I will use the automatic roof, but in some cases it just looks very weird. And this is, of course, a very weird shaped house. Just to start with, it's a very weird shaped house, so that doesn't help at all. Here we're putting in some light so you can see what I've been working on. There's no windows in yet, so there's no light coming through. Usually those houses that we've been to were not heavily decorated. If they were more like decorated like it was a farm, or it was a farm once. So this house, of course, is decorated. It's not really a farm or a barn that's remodeled, converted to a big house. But I'm kind of going with that kind of theme. By now it's very weird. So I have hallways, a lot of hallways, but there is no big hallway that connects the front of the house to the back of the house. So if you were to walk to, like, say the dining room, you would have to go to the kitchen, and from the kitchen to the other living room, and then into the hallway, and then into the dining room. So I don't know which part it's gonna be. I'm gonna change that, but now I'm just putting in some lights to light it up properly. I have these very useful ceiling lights, those custom content ones. They're cheap, but they work correctly. That's what you want. You want lights that are not expensive, but to do the job. Yeah, that's something that's very useful. You can now kind of get a feel of what I'm trying to build here. I think we have all the beds that we need. We're now going to find. I have this very weird thing that I never used, and I was trying to think, could I use this somewhere in the build? I couldn't, but I'm just trying to figure out if I could use it, or how it at least works. This is, to be honest, if you look at it, it's a very interesting house. It's not just a box. Because here in the Netherlands you see a lot of houses that are just boxes, straight or rectangular boxes. So this is already very different. You could probably say that this house was extended sometime, because the front is very boxy, but then because I had to add all the extra room in there, I had to extend the house left and right, which gives it an overall good feel. Not too boxy, not too easy. Trying to give some of the house a bit more texture, different texture than it was, which is always tough. If I look at these bricks, these grey bricks that I have, it's very yucky, very yucky. I don't do yucky houses now. I do love myself some bricks, that's very correct, but they have to look okay. This is looking better. This is a very nice texture of bricks for the house. Making sure all the roofs are also painted. I'm probably gonna forget what I talked about in the previous part, so get ready for a lot of the same things in these couple of parts of this house, because I really enjoyed building this. I don't know how many parts this is gonna be, so that's gonna be something to look forward to. I already know that by the end of the next part you're gonna get a bigger idea of what I'm trying to build here at least. Because this part is mostly the outside, mostly just the structure of the house, and a little bit of decorating, but nothing is set yet, so it's gonna be something to look forward to see the end result of this big house. And as far as I know, in the end, the house is completely playable. Of course, how would you ever want to have 32 Sims on one lot? I don't know. I wouldn't. But yeah, this is part one. Something all of these houses had was a lot of parking space. Because even though we could have came together, you have to bring a lot of stuff with you for just a weekend. At least I do. Because here in the Netherlands you never quite know what you're gonna get weather-wise. So yeah, that is something you always have to keep in the back of your head. Always bring some extra spare clothes in case it gets cold, or it gets cold, or it gets very rainy, or I don't know, you get wet socks, because you never know what could happen. And here we are just finishing off the parking space. And then I find that there is of course an in-game gravel floor paint, what do you call it? Terrain paint. And we use that goes very nicely with the grey color of the house, which is always useful. Doing the edges first so I don't smudge anything up. And we stop a little bit of the window. And we're gonna continue on this one room here. I'm gonna put in some play equipment. What would you call that? Big billiard table, maybe? And a football table is gonna go in there. We're adding in some windows because I didn't do that yet. And I'm going to finish it for this part. I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you liked it, you could subscribe and like the video, and I will see you next time. Bye.